Well, pretty excited for this interview today. We've got, I think it's third generation racer. We've got Ash Shields from WA, current state champion. So, Ash Shields, how you going today, bud?
Good. Thanks for having me on, Dave.
I got to know, when during the meeting did you know that you guys were on song and you had a lot of pace and that the podium, let alone the victory, was coming close?
We went in the meeting with confidence. We got second in our first heat. But then we just, challenged on. Probably by, I don't know, the third heat, we had Cohen and Hudson as well. And we sort of had a little plan on, how to ride the track and beat them in that heat. And as soon as we finished that heat, it was pretty much, we knew, we're a strong contender for the title.
Now, coming into the final, did you sort of get the gate you wanted? Like, did you get the helmet color you wanted? And if not, how did you maximize that?
We finished the night on top on points, so we had our, first pick of the gate. Last time that we made the final for the state title, we'd done the same thing. We went gate one because we know that the way that the track condition is at the moment, if you can hug that inside line, you pretty much, make everyone else work for it and go around the outside of you.
I was in South Australia during that final, so I didn't really know the results until the day after, but I believe your mum told me who won, and I was excited and bummed out at the same time because one of my good friends, Brody Cohen, I had him as a shoo-in to win, but you just can't go past the WA boys.
WA, we had three on the podium. We were coming to grips with the track at the same time as what the East Coasters are when they're coming across. This would be the third season now, I think, that they've altered the track a little bit, so we're starting to get our home track advantage back, so it's good.
Aside from all this sort of thing, tell me how it starts. When did you first sort of put your leg over a bike? What was it, and how did it lead to racing?
Well, it would have been back in the day with the old boy. So, I think I would have been 5 or something, jumped on the back just for a, quick little spin around the block. Absolutely crap myself. Come back bawling my eyes out. Didn't want to go back on there. And then, as it went on with the old boy racing and, carrying on over East and stuff like that, pretty much growing up with it. So I wasn't forced into it. It was just one of them things where, let's go give it a shot. So I think it was 2002 was the first time I actually jumped on the bars. So I started racing as a rider, not a passenger. In juniors, that was a little 250 at Bibra Lake Speedway. And then, just carried on. Then obviously Bibra Lake Speedway closed down, so all us bike guys had nowhere to go. And then, Rob Wolfenden and the junior club built a little track out at Pinjar. And then, pretty much got started meeting the guy at my workplace that just brought one of the old boys' bikes. Didn't have a passenger at the time, so asked me to jump on. Well, prior to that, we had a couple of little chats, and then he asked me to jump on. So I'd done a meeting with him. The first time we went out, we ended up putting it on its head. And then, didn't look back, really.
Isn't it funny how you grow up around it and you're never forced to do anything, but you end up just gravitating towards it?
Yeah, and I can see my youngest son at the moment, he's sort of doing the same thing. My eldest, not so much. He's, What's he, 11? So I started when he was pretty much born. So he's seen a lot of my big crashes. So that sort of, not pushed him away, but, he doesn't want to get involved in it. So he's happy just to come and watch and support.
Now, I try not to talk about this sort of stuff, but it is bound to happen with racing. You referred to crashes. We'll go with what's your biggest crash that you got away with and you were fine, and what's a crash where you were very, very hurt?
I've been lucky with a few of them. So I had one actually in Bowen in Queensland. I think that was 2014 or something. And I was lucky to get away with that. That was for the East Coast Roundup. Me and Ricky Kane, I think, what was that, turn two, and it just veered straight into the fence and pretty much shot me off, landed in the middle of the track, landed on my neck. But yeah, got up and got away from that one, which is very lucky. But then the biggest one I had was, what was that, 2019 or 2018, with my old boy up in Kalgoorlie. So the front fairing actually come loose and yeah, pretty much catapulted us straight in the air, bike landing on top of us, couple of broken ribs. The old boy, yeah, punctured lung and 8 ribs and stuff like that. So we were stuck in Kalgoorlie for a couple of days. But yeah, we were quite lucky with that one as well. It could have been a lot worse. So they thought I had neck injuries and they're going to fly me back down to Perth and all that sort of stuff.
Hear that you say you got to race at Kalgoorlie because from the East Coast, we know Kalgoorlie is more of a sprint car track. So what was the deal there? Was it a clay surface or what was the deal?
Yeah, sprint car track, but they prepped it really well for us sidecar guys. So they had just a bike meeting up there. So they spent, a good few days making sure it was spot on for us.
What you guys have now in WA with the Pinjarra is just amazing. That venue looks so good on TV.
A real good venue, and it's a credit to the club on what they've done. They started small with the small track at Pinjarra, and they had that block of land and just waited, and then as soon as they got funding and all that sort of stuff, they just hit it on the head. And
without the help of these people, none of this happens. So please go find them on socials and follow their pages. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, and thank you to everyone that has.
Well, they opened that 2019, so we've been riding there, and it's been improving every season.
We don't get to see many WA people sort of come over at the moment, and it's a bit of a thing because of COVID sort of ruined that for a few seasons. But the biggest WA guy that I knew of growing up was Glenn O'Brien. I'd obviously heard of your dad as well during the years, but you've also got the Nash family. So what was it like to be on the bike with Darren to win the state title?
I've another person, well, both Glenn and Nathan, and then obviously Darren as well. Like, I've grown up watching them and been in the pits with them, and been over east with them as well. And I think it was probably the last Aussie title that Darren done. I was actually pit crewing for him. And just helping him out here and there to then, like 10 years later or something, I'm on the back with him and racing against guys that I was growing up watching it's quite surreal.
Some of my friends over in New Zealand have little routines that they've got to do to sort of bring the nerves down and just sort of be calm. I know over in Australia, over on the East Coast at the moment, the big slap on the back's a big thing for the passenger to the rider. But what's your little routine to be able to deal with the fact that you're about to jump on a missile around a track with no brakes?
Yeah, I keep to myself. Very quiet. It'll be headphones on, and just block out all the noise around us. On the other hand, you got Darren that's always hyped up. He's had, 2 bottles of red cordial flying around. So, we're two opposites, but then we both work together quite well. The old boy, every time we go out before a heat, he'll come up, exactly that, give us the old slap on the back, tell you good luck and, you've got this. So
now, your mum is actually very handy with a camera. She caught one of the biggest crashes I've seen in a very long time. Was last year down in Adelaide when Trent Headland had that massive dumper over the finish line and he was fine.
Yeah.
Like, that's actually how I met your mum and dad, was that meeting then.
Yeah, so they're both the old man and old lady. They're very committed to the sport. We had it in the pipeline for a couple of years that we were going to go across and do the Aussie titles and stuff like that. Obviously, COVID ruined it for us, but they don't stop. They always, if we're not going to go, race in the Aussie title or go over east and race, they'll always be there. They'll be the first ones on a plane and flying over. So they love it. It's one big family, the whole Speedway sidecar community.
What actually blew my head off, I couldn't believe this, was your dad coming up to me in the pits after the Aussie qualifier telling me he watches my videos. Like, I just never thought that would happen.
We're getting lucky now with the Speedway sidecars, and it's all from obviously yourself and like Graham Sinden, always sharing videos and getting the sport out there. And, the more people that can see it, the better.
Touching on Graham's stuff, he did an awesome job in the pits, because I rewatched the live stream from the state title and he was killer, man. Like, he was just unreal. And Con Migro as well. Them together, they do such a good job.
Fantastic job. And they're both willing to help the club out, come up and commentate, when the club can ask them if they can. So as long as with Con, as long as the Motorplex isn't on at the same time, he'll always be there. So
leading up to the Aussies, surely you've got to have a big amount of confidence right now leading into it. How is sort of your prep for the Aussies going to be now? Because I believe you've got one or two more decent meetings at your home track before it happens.
So, the prep, I think we're just going to take it like we normally do in a normal meeting, sort of, make sure all the bikes are spot on, probably spend a couple of days on them. And, in the back of our mind, we had it that we were going to end up doing the 2 meetings for the Aussie titles. Thankfully, now we only, we've got straight into the main event. So that helps us a lot as well. But yeah, we got the 2. What do we got? The King of Pinjar in 2 weeks' time. And then I think a week after, we got the Jeff Giddos. So they're 2 quite big meetings. We do quite well in their meetings as well. We've won the Giddos, I think, twice, I think. And it's going to be good because you're going to get a lot of East Coasters coming across for these last 2 meetings before the Aussies as well.
Behind the scenes, though, as we touch on the whole Speedway family thing, I guarantee your parents are helping people out, and I know there's more behind the scenes as well. But isn't it crazy that when people need places to stay or places to leave bikes, everyone just puts their hands up straight away and just helps everyone?
It's like Colin, he's staying at one of our close family friends' houses, when he comes over and stuff like that. So, it's great. Everyone puts their hand up wanting to help everyone out.
The 2-bike deal, because there are people that are on lower budgets that just by pure luck, whether it be tax returns or whatever, they've been able to purchase a second bike, but they're not identical. Like, I know a couple of people that have 2 bikes, and one might be a Suzuki or a Yamaha. They're not the same. With your 2 bikes, how similar are they?
They're very similar. They're out of the same jig, same motor. Darren and I, we've still got a favourite that we like to ride. It's just little things that have been done different that, we noticed a bit more on one than the other. But yeah, having 2 bikes and knowing that we can jump on whichever one and still be competitive is great.
Now, for the people out there that don't know, I do, because I've been on the tools for a few people over the years. But going into a meeting when you've got 2 bikes, how do you go about making sure that both bikes are ready once you're at the track?
So we're lucky. We got 3 mechanics. So we pretty much, Darren and I will sit down and discuss on what changes or tire pressures and all that sort of stuff, and we'll tell one that's what we want to do. So each one of our mechanics actually has one of their own little jobs. One will be doing the refueling, one will be doing the chain, one will be doing tire pressures.
What's it like with your mum and dad now that you're racing? Because your dad did pardon me, your dad did so much in his career and your mum's been around it forever. What are they like along the sidelines? Is your dad just bursting at the seams trying to help you, or does he sort of hang back? And your mum, is she more of a watcher, or does she freak out and cover her eyes?
Sure. Mum's a watcher. Not that I would know because I don't see, she's obviously doing all the videos and stuff like that. So she's good with her social media side. The old boy, mate, he's always buzzing. No matter if we have a bad heat, a bad meeting, he's still full confidence. He's always got a smile on his face and loves helping.
Now, why the yellow? I have a friend that has a Shields frame and it's fluoro yellow. It might just be a coincidence, but how come you guys do the fluoro yellow?
Something different. We wanted to stand out. That frame that you're talking about, which I'm pretty sure I know, that was Reese's. So Reese Lipchop had that one and sold it, and he had fluoro yellow as well. I'm not sure. It's just we want to stand out, be noticeable.
Say things go really, really well at the Aussies and at the minimum a podium, at the maximum a victory. Can we expect to see you doing any East Coast stuff next year, or is it more sort of budget restrictions and stuff like that?
I'm not too sure on that one, mate. At the same time, in our Speedway off season, we do road racing sidecars. So, depends on where we go, on which direction we're going to go.
A road racing sidecar is completely different to a dirt sidecar. So what are some of the differences?
Instead of, leaning out to your right, you're doing both directions. And then obviously you got a bigger slick tire on there, a lot softer compounds. So the drive on it and the pull is absolutely incredible.
And you get to race some tracks that I've known since I was a little boy because I was a big V8 supercar fan, Group A touring car fan. But what's it like to go through Barbagallo, say, as you come over that massive hill going down to the sort of the last corner?
Yeah, that's a weird one. So we've raced Barbagallo once. We'll probably look at doing it a few more times this season. But coming up over that hill, because I'm tucked in, so I don't see much, but the speeds we're getting down there, and you feel as soon as you get to the peak, you feel all that weight like lifted off you, and then all of a sudden it just comes back down on you. And then the braking zone, mate, the forces that go through your arms in that braking zone going from, I think we're doing 250 or something down that straight. Like, it's crazy.
See, it's frustrating to talk about road racing sidecars personally because whenever I say a Speedway sidecar to people, they often think it's either an actual car or they go, oh, they're those crazy guys that race on the road, and you just can't get it through people's head. What are some of the weirder things that people have said to you when you try and explain what a Speedway sidecar is?
They just don't get it. Hey, so you got to show them videos and photos, but they still question you and well, so how does it work? And then you add in, you got no brakes. Well, how do you stop? And so, well, you got to sort of back off and this and that. And they're like, no, we couldn't do that.
Talk about gating too as a passenger because we've lost Donnie Morris recently, and he's the one that opened my eyes up to the sort of spring style positioning for the passenger where you're actually standing right up all the way till turn one and then you go down. What's sort of your style of getting out of the gate on the back?
I'm obviously a lot different to what the East Coast guys are. I get questioned a lot, why am I not doing what the East Coast guys do over there? One of it is, the handle that I have on the seat is a lot different to what everyone's running. So everyone's running, the over, whereas I'm running the long one, short. So, I find it a lot better using that one. So I don't completely stand up. It's more hovering off that, off the seat, but getting forward as much as I can as well.
I always say this to people, but please go through some of the people that you have to say their name and say thank you for everything they've done.
It'd have to be my old man and the old lady. Without them, it'd be pretty hard doing what we're doing at the moment. Obviously the wife and then the kids. massive support when I had the very first meeting on a senior. She'd never seen Speedway before, absolutely fell in love with it, and pretty much told me I'd need to keep going because she's getting the enjoyment out of it as much as I am. My granddad, the same boat. He pretty much got like my dad into it. So, like I said earlier, 3 generations. It's exciting and it's good. And then I had Jeff Giddos when I first started. He gave me a lot of pointers. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't know half of the stuff. Watching all my old man's passengers back in the day, is another thing of learning from them as well, and little bits and pieces, and just sitting there, and I would always just listen. I wouldn't say anything. I'd just take everything in. Who else? Obviously Darren, he gave me the opportunity to jump on the back with him. We haven't looked back pretty much. Then we got, Rick and Rachel Hanger, letting us jump on their road racing sidecar, committing to another season with them guys, which is good for training for Speedway as well. And, family and friends, you're always going to forget someone along the way, but everyone knows that, I'm quite thankful for what everyone's doing for us.
So with the Australian titles coming up, I've got some people helping me big time to try and get me over there. I am very hopeful that I do get over there. If everything goes well, I believe I'll be staying with your parents, and I believe your dad's given me his ute. So we'll see how it goes, man. But I'm really hoping to get over there and just seeing what the West Coast has to offer.
Yeah, mate. It's going to be great. The first time the club's having an Aussie title here. The club's excited. My missus, she's started organising all the merch for the Aussie titles, so she's flat out doing that. And it's going to be great to see East Coasters come across. As much as we want to get over, your way and stuff like that, pretty much, it comes down to the dollar as well, and it's very hard to, travel back and forwards. And I take my hat off to like Shane Hudson and Brody Cohen. They've parked their bikes up here and they're just going to fly in, fly out. Like, that's dedication.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you're exactly right. The dollar decides everything. And just on a personal note, without the sponsors that I have, there is no way that I'd leave the Sunshine Coast. I wouldn't be able to go to my local track. I wouldn't be able to go anywhere. So it's just, well, unfortunately, we're pretty much out of time, mate. But thanks for having a chat today. And I'm stoked that you guys won the WA title. And hopefully we'll be having this chat again soon, but with Darren as well, with you guys winning the Aussie title.
Yeah, thanks for having me, mate. We'll go give it our best shot. We always do. We give it 110%. So it'll be great to see everyone over here. There's a couple of people I want to catch up with and stuff like that. And we'll go give it a crack, mate, and see what happens.
Well, I'll be watching the live streams leading up to it, but if I don't get to see you, good luck with the Australian title, and thanks for coming on the pole line.
Thank you very much, mate.